You fall, you fail. You're always grasping at a memory, trying to remember why you continue to do what you do, always trying to do something else, or crash and burn, which is ambitious, assumes you can get off the ground in the first place. It is desire, loosening your desires, your intent. What motivates this movement? What keeps it in motion? Wanting to be somebody, someone, wanting to get something, change something, just find a body to contain this panic. You trip and you glide. You touch somebody without meaning to, hurt somebody without even knowing it. And somebody wants you to hold them and you can't, and you both fall to the floor. The dance begins from the floor, from the ground up. Your feet, even your face, begins from the ground up. Clothes, rooms, faces, buildings, people, animals, companies, memories. You dance in all of this, inside of yourself, inside of all of these things, these structures, boundaries, relations. And it's never about winning, about gaining, getting. There's no point. It's all about desires and about never having, never getting. All this movement is towards objects you can never have, never fully grasp, protect, own, hold. Because another part of the movement, why the dance is possible, is that you must already have whatever you desire, or your desire burns, but it has no object, just dancing, always dancing, restlessness. Like when wheels are in motion but they appear to be still. But if you touch it, it spins you right off the road and you break your neck. Or worse, somebody else's. But you have to dance, you can't stop dancing the dance. It dances you. You're always becoming and never are. Always totally, yet never only now.
Sit down over there. So my name's Jim Renney, and I was the director of a film called Recovery. I say director, but in my mind the film was never actually finished. Since then, it's been recut together. I'm released as an omnibus for television. Recovery was originally part of a 3-part series, each episode about a different addict in recovery. Episode 1 was a heroin addict, episode 2 an nymphomaniac, and episode 3, which was to be directed by me, was about an alcoholic who was in recovery, a local artist from a local town. Recovery was a turning point in not just my career, but, well, what career I've had since is questionable. But for better or for worse, a turning point nonetheless.
So I'm John Nada. I'm an artist and a recovering alcoholic.
In a way, I've been drinking all my life, I think. My family were quite hard drinkers. My first job was in a bar when I was only 15 or something like that, which was, we were drinking the whole time we were there, working there. I mean, I've always had a job, so I've always been, in a way, a kind of high-functioning alcoholic. I've been able to earn money, and I realized that, I'd be only interested in the job after a while for the money so that I could go and drink myself into oblivion. I guess when I really realized I had a massive problem was first time I really seriously blacked out. Woke up, didn't know where I was, didn't know what had happened or how I got there. And then I just carried on though for a while, and I went from blackout to blackout. I would be working in a place and it'd just be turning the work over, not even thinking about it, and then just waiting until it was time for me to be able to go and have another drink. I've been to various places, like I've been to AA meetings, which don't get me wrong, they work for some people, and I've seen some people do really well on that. But for me, it always felt a bit kind of smug sometimes. I didn't really believe myself, but even if I was telling true stories, it's all confessional, I can't talk about what went on inside the meetings, but I'd tell stories about stuff that had happened, things that had, happened to me because I've been drinking and things, but as soon as the words were out of my mouth, I just didn't believe myself. More often than not, I just go straight to a bar or pub afterwards and just get a drink. It just made me want to drink, often with some of the other people from the meeting. You've got something kind of a drive inside of you, I think. In a lot of my life, I've found a way of kind of galvanizing that or putting that to action through my work, through art. But gradually, as you drink more and more, drink kind of takes over what that is. It controls your impulses, your decisions. It rules everything. And yeah, I mean, there's no recovered. Not for someone like me. It's I will be in recovery for as long as I'm alive.
My name's Ben Schrader. I was the DOP on the 3-part TV series Recovery. I'd known Jim for a while before Recovery. We'd worked together previously, a couple of years previously on another documentary. Got both our careers started. The documentary was a hit.
Sanjal sem v mestu mojega rojstva. Njegovi zvoki so me preplavljali. Reke in ceste so me požirale. Kos za kosom. Vedel sem, da sem prišel sem umret.
My relationship with Jim. In the beginning, it was great. We were touring, promoting the film. We had no ties, we were both single. We drank a lot, we went out, partied, and enjoyed ourselves. Jim's problem was he never knew when to stop.
I'm not going to give these up in a hurry anyway. It's one addiction I'm not going to pretend to give up. I'll tell you about this painting because this is quite an interesting one, and actually it was on a wall. This one was on a wall in a cafe somewhere, and there was me and there was two other artists who had their paintings up on the wall in this cafe for sale, and I'd never sold anything before, so I didn't know how much to put, and I was like, oh, it only costs about 20 quid to make, so I thought maybe 50 quid, but all the other things on the wall were like 300, 200 quid, so I thought, well, fuck it, I'll put it up for, so I put it for 150 quid, and this American person wanted to buy it, and so contacted me and said, "Oh no, I'll buy it. I like that." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll meet you and I'll tell you about it if you want." And so we met, and I talked to him about it. And actually, this is not one I did when I was drunk. It was one very sober period, and I never really have used these colours before, but I was sitting in my living room, and I just became really angry for no reason at all. But I just became really angry, and I just threw a mug at this mirror that was over the other side of the room, and it just smashed. It just smashed the whole mirror. It just like fell to pieces. And strangely, right after I'd done that, I just felt really calm. All of a sudden, it was just like a sudden bolt out of the blue, just like poof. And I smashed this mirror, and then I like looked at the pieces, and then I put them, and I could see my face in it, but it was fractured, you know. I mean, again, it's corny, but I just started to paint. I had this canvas. I had a couple of these which I got from a friend, and so I just started to paint, and it took me. It might not look like it, but it actually took me about 8 hours. And I was just like completely focused on this, and I was just like trying to find what the source of that anger was. And I met this guy who was going to pay me 150 quid for this painting, and he was just like, "So, tell me about it." And I just was, and so I told him that story, and he literally just like withdrew. He just looked at me, and he moved back, and then he just sort of said, "Okay," and then he just walked away. So I couldn't sell it after all. So that's why it's still here. But so I just thought, oh fuck it, I better take it off the wall. So I took it away then. But this is another film I made with some other people a couple of years ago. Yeah, that was a really good time actually. It's really nice to work with other people because I normally just do all my stuff on my own. No, he's a good friend of mine actually. Quite a drinker himself as well. But it's difficult when you know people through drink and you can't meet them otherwise, but this was a good time. We weren't drinking while we made this.
If you get out of here, James, and there is anything you need, then I'm willing to help you, okay? Doctors, therapists.
It's beyond that. I have thoughts. Terrible, terrible visions. You wouldn't understand. It's not controllable on the outside. In here, I have stability. I have routine. I have walls. The guards, they help me. It's better if I'm in here. It's safer.
Bad dreams, eh? We can solve those. I can help you. You've just got to trust me. James. James. Look, James. I'm not getting any younger. This could set us both up for the future.
No fucking way.
It was good. We even got a bit of money for it. So it was good. Don't know where it's going to be shown or anything, but still. It's sort of me, really, that guy. See his paintings, and he just can't. He's in prison, is the story. He's in prison, and he's about to be released, and but he can't bear it. He can't bear that idea. He doesn't know how that would be. It's always that fear that holds you, sort of panic, which you have to keep in check, which you have to put to work, which you have to talk about, you have to express. You know, you can't just keep it in. You really can't, and that's the thing. If you have that violence in you, force, you can't ignore it, and you can't pretend it's not there, and you can't behave, and you can't go to cognitive behavioral therapy to straighten it out. You know, it's just burning in you, and it's what you want, and it's what you don't want, and it drives you. And that's what this is about. That's what these are about. That's what the films are about, really. About, well, like what my friend said to me, you know, let's do something else. Let's not be forever having this conversation. What the fuck have you done now? Let's actually just have a different conversation. It's about being yourself while being able to be something more than you think you are, or something other, maybe not more. More's not the right thing. Are you rolling? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's just something, it's kind of peaceful. It's like a balance between things when you're walking around somewhere and you just start to think about what is underneath the ground. You just think, sometimes just close my eyes and try and imagine all of the skulls and all the mulch and the rotten corpses, and just like you're just walking through a field of death, but above it's all, you know, it's calm. There's something good about that balance somehow. It kind of holds you in place if you can connect with it. It's easy to say, it's easy to It's not that easy to really imagine it though, when you're walking around just thinking 6 feet under or less, some places, the dead are waiting for you in a way. It's a strange kind of calm that comes from that somehow. You have to work at it. You can't just be a tourist. So I made this film about being here. I guess it's sort of abstract in a way, and kind of it's just through long periods of time being here and just getting into a kind of zone of that peace, that calm, a bit of being among the dead, and kind of just, I don't know, I don't want to get too deep about it, but sort of like lowering your tone, your breath. Just, I think it's something I often do with painting as well. It kind of, you just get to a point where you're kind of as still as what you're looking at. And I've sort of done that quite a lot in here. I must have spent weeks overall in here, at least months, but there's various spots where I've sat and just looked at the trees, listened to the birds, listened to the sounds of other people, watched the night come down. But this one in particular, which I then came back and made some film of, is this beautiful angel above a grave up here. Really beautiful. From about 100 years ago, I think it was put there for someone's mum. And yeah, I spent the longest time just sitting, watching and looking at this angel, just looking at her face. And I sort of was here quite late at night. This was in a pretty sober period, and I just was in a very kind of calm space in a way, and I just spent a long time looking at her. And then I came back and filmed on this day when it was beautiful grey, light, kind of dull, dark, but rain falling in front of her face like tears. Come and see what's happened, but anyway. Right, so look at that. So that's where it was. And I've got footage of it before. The fucker, whoever did that. It fucked me right up when I saw that. I couldn't. I really fucking hit the bottle after that. It just. Just trying to, you look at something and you've been looking at it and you've just been in a kind of state of fixed, kind of serious contemplation. And you just think, how is it possible for somebody else to just look at that and just go, I just want to ruin it, just want to break it. And maybe this person kind of was fucked up by religion. I just can't get into that mind. I can't get into that mind. And every time I look at it now, I feel like this. It's like I was saying, it's real. This is sort of cold rage. stared at it so much, stared at her face so much, I can almost go through this loop where I kind of think, oh, it can't be that that's gone, or that the face is somehow in there, or she's still there. Just look at the hand, still sort of delicate. Why would anyone do that? I guess the films I make, or I've made one for a while, been doing more painting. But the films and the painting are about that point of seeing something that's there all the time, or that anybody can see. They can see. But seeing it kind of just seeing it for real, seeing it not for the first time, it's not that, it's just like something that you've seen all the time, something that you see every day, and sometimes suddenly you just see it, and it's not the same as it was before anymore, now that you've seen it like that. And it's about capturing that moment, or trying to hold on to something kind of still in a
Why is it that these final days seem to make the mind and the body yearn for the touch of earth? Never have I wanted to appreciate more the splendor of azure skies, and I ache to know the eyes and the thoughts of a creator. Could it be there is another who is the keeper of our destinies? Or have I chosen my own path, which has led me to these ends? Who have I offended with my treacherous ways? Have I squandered the gifts that I was given? Birth, creativity, are these traits mine? Or was I given this mind as a heavenly joke, and then betrayed myself to be a jester? Could it be that this is simply what I was born to be? Target practice for a military man, and the resting place of man-made steel. I must accept that it is I who is the keeper of my actions, and it is my hand that must draw a blade. If I choose to strike, it is my choice. This is my decision, and I hold control over my actions.
Okay, so my name's Izzy.
and on Recovery I was the field sound recordist for the interview segments. Recovery was the last job I had in the field, if you like. Now I work in the studio, I'm the ADR supervisor. As far as the crew goes, I was new to everyone. I hadn't worked with them before. They'd all worked together before. Jim has a bit of a reputation in the industry for being, first of all, being a great artist, an aggressive director, a drunk and a bit of a bully, if I'm honest.
Jim was a very driven guy. He worked hard, played hard. We'd do a long day's shoot and afterwards he'd be editing till the small hours of the morning. But while he was editing, he'd drink. How much he drank during those hours, I don't know. But towards the end of the tour, it got progressively worse. And in the end, he was hungover or aggressive 90% of the time. It became difficult.
You know, for me, it was formidable going into a situation like that. In this industry, it is such a struggle. So when you finally get the opportunity to work with somebody who has this fantastic reputation, but also has this negative connotation with him, it can be a bit intimidating to go work with somebody like that. But you know, when we were shooting, apart from the odd snaps here and there, he was a complete professional, you know, and a great director, and he was very occupied with making the film. I figured if he's making a documentary about alcoholism, he's probably in a good place with his addiction. So my initial thought was he's going to be reasonably okay to work with, more stable. It was, you know, it was after work that it became a bit of a different story. He'd always insist that me, Ben, the cameraman, and himself went out for drinks after work, and it wasn't, initially I thought it was, you know, oh, let's all go out for a drink, we've done such a good job, blah, 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 blah. But it wasn't that at all. It was, come with me at the drinks, I don't want to be sat on my own in the bar because that would mean I'm a real alcoholic. But if you're with me, I don't feel quite the same way. And eventually as well, it became apparent that he was staying out drinking way beyond, you know, the time that me and Ben had left. Me and Ben would go home, and then the next day on set, he'd show up and he'd have that alcoholic smell, which, if I have to translate into, you know, intellectual terms, it's just fags, booze, shame, sweat. That's what it would be. But you know, he'd always be professional. We'd shoot, go on our lunch break, and he'd come back from lunch, different clothes than the ones he was still in from the day before, you know, washed. And he'd look, you know, at least more on the ball. But as I said, professional when on set, you know.
There were two sides eventually to Jim, and the alcohol was flicked the switch, and he became someone completely different to who he had been. It wasn't the Jim I knew.
After recording on that day, in the cemetery by the monument, things began to change. It was never the same after that. Things became volatile, and there was a less stable feeling in the air. The next day, Gia refused to be filmed, or at least refused to go on camera. We recorded some audio files that day. Here is a small part of one of those audio files.
Remember when I was growing up, I was a teenager, and I was with this friend of mine. We were quite good mates, although I was always a bit of a loner. And we went out to this place down by the river, and it was summer, and there was an old rope tied to this tree. I don't know how old we were, probably 15 or younger maybe, I don't know. And so we both sort of started swinging on this rope, going out over the river and coming back in. And I remember my friend, I was just swinging, and then while I was swinging, he climbed up the tree and went on the branch where the rope was, and was just right above me as I was like swinging around, and he just started sort of bouncing the branch and bouncing it, and I was just didn't really pay attention to begin with. I didn't know what he was doing, and it was just sort of moving in a different way and things like that. And then I just looked at him, and I just saw this look in his eye, and he was looking at me, and he really wanted me to fall in, and it wasn't a game anymore. It started out, you know, it was just fun. We seemed to be mates and stuff, but something had snapped in him, something had happened, and he just was bouncing the branch and looking at me, and I just saw that look in his eyes, which he tried to disguise, I think, immediately, but I saw it. And I realised that he just wanted me to go into the river, and then so he could laugh at me. And I don't know what happened next. Nothing happened. I mean, I didn't fall in the river. It was just a moment, but it did make me think a lot about how people, I don't know, that thing I was saying before about wanting to be somebody else is something like that. It's about like when you can't quite fit in your own self, who you are somehow. But I learned over time, in a way, that that's all you've got. That's all you've got to work with. But you can't just, you know, be stuck in someone else's idea of what that is or who you are. You have to kind of be true to yourself. So, but that look, I'll never forget that look. Never forget that look. Someone means you harm. Someone who was close to you, who you thought was your mate, your friend. Suddenly that flash. We're all kind of animals in a way. Bad animals. Don't know what happened to him. So many things are kind of just a distraction from something else.
Our first impressions, what were our first impressions of? All right. When I first met John, and the subject of the documentary, he was well in recovery. He hadn't touched a drink for, I think it was 8 months, 9 months. So he'd been dry for that long. You can tell with people, you know, he was jittery. He still had the red cheeks, you know, the burst capillaries, but he was good. He was on the track. From conversations we'd had together, I understood this was going to be a pretty easy shoot. You know, it was me, a camera guy, sound girl. That was about it, you know. But things began to unravel, and I thought that he'd started drinking again. And I asked him, and he flew off the handle. I mean, he went crazy. And I said, why? Is it because I asked you that you were drinking again? Are you drinking again? And of course, he didn't answer. He being an artist, he kind of created this enigmatic character around himself. I thought he was acting half the time. I never thought I was seeing his true face. But I kept rolling, and I recorded it all, because that's what I do. The camera's often a separation, as I'm sure most filmmakers know, between yourself and the subject. There's examples of guys in war-torn countries using the camera as a shield. And sometimes that's where the lens works. It works as a shield between you and your subject. That's not always a good thing.
You know, alcoholics, with alcoholics, it is a thing that they use alcohol to socialise. So in the first hour or so, Jim would be fun, great fun. great social man, life of the party. And then after that, it would spiral, and you could see the change in his face and in his body language, almost become a different person. And he'd be a little sleazy, to be honest. But things didn't really get bad until things kind of came to a head for me when he put his hands on me, and he got a bit aggressive, and I pushed him off, and then, you know, he apologised, and he was crying and stuff, but I mean I was just frozen. I didn't really know what to do. But that was it, really. For me, it became really difficult to shoot with him after that. I had to hide my anger towards what he'd done to me, or what he tried to do to me. And there was the apologising, and he still said, "Oh, you know, I know I was drunk, but it's no excuse." You know, these are things that I'd heard. These are things that I've heard before, and I didn't need to hear it again. I understood what had happened, and I understood the context of what had happened. But it's not really the industry to report things like that, is it? It's not. Neither was it the time for me to report that. It wasn't the time for me, career-wise, you know, and also nothing would have happened anyway if I reported it. When he spoke to me about it, I felt various things. Obviously the anger was still there, and I was a little bit, I wouldn't say afraid of him, I was wary of him, and I was nervous because even though he'd apologised, we'd still go out for drinks after work and stuff, because that would just be expected of you. He seemed like he needed help, and I felt kind of like, because we did have a personal relationship, I felt maybe there was a position in there that I needed to help him. Maybe I needed to help him. We're talking about some, you know, a potential assault, you know, something that potentially hurt me in the context of somebody being a great artist and a great director, as if the two are mutually exclusive, you know. Like, you can be a great artist and also be somebody's attacker. You can be both those things. But yeah, our relationship was strained, and I didn't report it.
The difference with live performance, and I mean, because I make paintings on my own, that's not a collaborative thing at all. And I write on my own, it's quite a isolating thing to do in a way. You have to commit to that aloneness It gives you a sense of the certainty or the clarity. You're listening to the world in a way, and sometimes I guess I write in a way which is sort of directly like writing a letter or something. You put somebody's name at the top, or you think, well, who is this for? So the audience that you meet when you do a live performance or have an exhibition or show film is, it does inform the work and it changes it. It's a different energy. It's a different thing that's going on with the work. The work itself is then put in front of people, and their responses and their energy to it are crucial, really, to what it becomes. And I think there's a sense of maybe humility or something, and because working on your own, you are, you're just with yourself, your own demons, memories, people you haven't seen, experiences you've had, memories and things. And I think it's vital, obviously, to get the work in front of people, otherwise there's no point. But it does change. It takes on a different form when it's being performed. I mean, just like with a poem, when you read it in your head or when you give it to somebody to read in their head, it's totally different from hearing it read in a voice, performed or sung, and I think that's vital to the work I make, is the live performance, is that element of kind of a dialogue, something that's made between, even if it's only just one person and the artist, or the work and another person, there's something else that happens between the two things. And live performance particularly, which is, I think, different from recording, has a kind of energy and a quality to it which will really allow the work to live, and you actually can see it in a different form to the one I might have conceived of it as sitting in my room writing it or painting it.
Show her you mean it. Show her she's worth it. A gas takes up all available space. Adverts on other gas. Show her you mean it. Altering the label. Your doctor is in theatre. You are disseminated, luxurious, activity. She's worth it. People who like this, liked. Race selectors, consensus reality, strange regime. You use piece of human wastage. What are you glutted on? Professional subjection. Dressing as normal. What are you gonna wear for your funeral? Refrigerated hygiene display insurance. The weave you wear is me, you say, where you lay and fall. One go! Go! Show her you mean it. She's worth it. Oh yeah,
of allowing people to have autonomy over their own mind.
just see his bare walls, blank canvases today. I've spent a while last night actually just destroying quite a lot of work. Because I need a new kind of, you get used to working in a particular way, you think you're quite good at something, or you get quite accomplished at something, and after a while it becomes kind of stale. I mean, I wouldn't say I ever get bored, I never get bored, but the work itself has got less life after a while if you become too used to the way in which you make things. And I just, for various reasons anyway, lost it last night, and it was a good thing in a way. I need to get into a different way of working, maybe work with different mediums as well, because when you're on your own a lot and you're working on your own a lot, you get sick of the echoes in your head, and you need to change the music, you need to change the environment and everything. And I sort of thought, well, I don't really want any of this work, these paintings, these things to be what I'm doing anymore, and why should I keep them? So I burnt them, wrecked them, slashed them, kicked them, destroyed them with my hands, which felt like a creative thing to do itself in a way. Is he coming? Is she? Sorry.
No, mate, I'm sorry. Izzy's not coming. She's not coming back now. She's on a different job. We've had a couple of cuts in the budget, so it's just me now for the next couple of sessions. There's no more Ben or Izzy.
Yeah, she said that. She said that she might not come back. She
told you she wasn't coming back?
Well, you know, we had a bit of a thing going on for a while.
I didn't even know myself until this morning.
Well, we had a bit of a fight last night, and she.
You with Izzy last night?
Yeah, she said she wouldn't come back. She said, I'm never going to see you again, but I thought it might be. I gave her a few calls, but she didn't answer my calls, so I thought she might get over it or something, but I guess she's. I guess not. Okay, right.
You know, people see the footage and they think that, you know, some people think it's obviously speculation that it was set up or something. So I just want to, for the record, clarify what happened. So we just finished shooting an interview with John. Mine and his relationship had just begun, and I was able to recognise when he was kind of getting a little bit, you know, on the edge of spiralling. I hung back after the shoot. I said, do you want to talk about stuff? You know, what's going on? I remember how calm he was when he was talking to me. He was just like, oh, no, I just wanted to show you something. Really calm. And the interview had been quite, I don't know if people can pick up on this, but for me, the interview seemed a bit frantic. You know, I could sense that there was a little bit of a, he just wanted to get it over with, like a bit of a angst. So we hung round, and he said, I want to show you something. I was like, okay, fine. He was like, you're really going to want to see this? So I thought, right, I'm going to grab my camera. I want to be a documentary filmmaker. So I thought, if I got this footage, this exclusive footage that I've got, because I have a relationship with a contributor, that it's more than an interview. I knew it was more than an interview. I knew he wasn't going to tell me anything. I was kind of hoping that he'd show me something that's proved he'd recovered, you know. But really, I knew he hadn't. I knew he wasn't going to show me that. I was a bit nervous because of how calm he was with me as well. So we just walk. We were walking for ages. We walked through the city, walking for absolutely ages. I kept trying to stop where we were going. I was saying, look, I'm really tired. I've got an early morning, you know, calls at da-da-da. And he was saying, no, we've got to keep going. And again, it was that calm, wasn't in character really. So we carried on walking and eventually got to this field. And he'd set up all his artwork. So at first I thought, oh, he set this up for me, you know, because we're together. And I set up my camera and I was filming it. And he lights a match and he burns his artwork. And it all got a little bit too much. I tried to calm him down as best I could, but I was surrounded by burning things in the middle of nowhere with no real way of getting out of there, just with a camera set up. He wasn't calm anymore, he was frantic, he was violent, he was being aggressive, he was completely flying off the handle. I don't know how to put it into words. You know, I was just frozen again, and I had to get out of there. That became my priority. You know, all relationship with John aside, I was like, I need to get out of here. This is too much. So I calmed him down as best I could, and eventually I just left him in a field with his artwork burning, with my camera. When I was walking back, I was thinking, what do I do now? Do I ring the police? Do I call the fire brigade? Like, what do I do? How do I fix this? And then I was just like, well, I just stood there filming it, wasn't I? I didn't do anything. Just stood there and watched it, filmed it. For entertainment, you know, that's what it's become. That piece of film's entertaining, isn't it? So I didn't call anyone. I didn't really do. And then after that I left. And I didn't realise that that I would have any impact as much as I had on him. But obviously, looking back now, it's a bit different.
John was a pretty somber character to begin with. And I guess I did kind of relate to him in a way. I mean, my drinking had been getting worse and worse throughout filming. To the point where I was drinking every night. I was hungover in the mornings. And John could see that. He started to speak to us about it, because he could obviously see the signs. I think he knew that I was drinking too much. I guess I kind of began to feel a kinship to him. Not that we were the same. I mean, we were both creative guys. I guess I saw some of John in me, and I didn't like that.
You all right?
I'm all right, man.
I'm
all right.
You're drinking at the moment, though, aren't you? I can tell.
Well, it's not about me, man.
Yeah, but I can
It's
tell
about
you.
you.
No, but you're fucking hungover. You've been like shaking around the camera. I can see you. I can smell it on you as well. You know.
You can smell it on us?
Yeah, definitely. Whiskey, stuff like that. You had a heavy one last night, did you?
I'm all right. Like, I had a couple last night.
Well, why don't we have a beer then? You know, come on. Why don't you fucking come and sit down here, get in front of the camera for once, have a beer with me.
Well,
fuck it. I don't
you've
care.
got beer. Are you drinking again?
Yeah. No, I mean, Izzy's gone. Let's just have a fucking beer. Come on, man. A couple of cold beers. Come on.
Are you sure you should be drinking again?
Yeah, I am sure, actually. I was drinking last night. Drinking a few days ago, actually. Fuck it, just come on. Come and sit down with me.
I don't know, man.
Come on, just get in front of the camera yourself for a bit.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, well, this is real, isn't it? It's a documentary about recovery,
This is
about
about
alcoholism
recovery.
and things like that.
We shouldn't be drinking now. This is about...
Well, come on, I've opened them. I'm not going to drink them both at once, so, you know, come and sit down. Come and sit down. Come on, you obviously could do the leveler anyway. You're clearly fucking hungover. Come on,
well,
man.
I could do with a beer, like.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the recovery.
Fucking recovery, aren't you? Are you sure you should be doing this?
Okay, so my relationship with John started, you know, it's interesting when you record interviews with people because you're in pretty close proximity with them and you get a large chunk of their personal life, so you feel like you really know them. And we're working together for hours at a time. So, and he's a big personality. You know. He was a big personality. You know, he's very charismatic. And he'd be nice. He was a nice person to interview, nice person to be around. He had nice energy. And me and him just talked. You know, we talked about loads of stuff, talked about his art, talked about other people's art. You know, we tended to steer off the topic of him being an alcoholic. I find that on shoots, I become the person that when everyone else is resetting, because it's sound, it's quite consistent in an interview anyway. I find that I'm the one that ends up talking to the contributor, just making sure they're okay and stuff like that, when everyone else is doing everything else. So just through that, me and him kind of developed a friendship. That was over a couple of weeks. And you know, he's a very honest guy. So when I'd say stuff to him like, oh, how are you feeling? He didn't take that as, oh, how are you doing? It was, how are you feeling? And it was a very intense question for him. He'd be very honest in his response. He'd be like, oh, you know, I don't feel quite so connected to it all today. And there'd be the response that he said. So I knew something was up. And like I said, we knew he was drinking.
It's really important, I think, in relationships I've had with people, that they understand who I am. They understand I've got this rage in a way, and they understand that I use alcohol, and I don't want to be a completely destructive drinker, but I've been with people who they just try and force it out of you, and it's only you who can stop, it's only you who can decide whether or not you're going to drink. And if someone else tries to take that away from you, it can actually push me into a completely over the edge. If someone's trying to force me to stop and make it their decision, that can actually make things a lot worse, and then I'll just go into a go off on a complete bender. But yeah, no, I've just started having a relationship with someone at the moment. She seems really good for me. I hope I can be some good to her. We get on very well, and she understands me. She understands that aspect of it, that she can't exert her will over me, and she can't make me stop. I'm the only one who can do that. And feels like a good balance in a sense. She's a drinker a bit, but not like me exactly. But we're in a good place at the moment, and she's a creative person. We get on really well. So I'm feeling good about that at the moment, and for the first time for ages to actually be able to be in a relationship, because there's been periods where I just know I'm just no good for anyone, and I don't actually want to be with anyone because I just despise myself, or I'm drinking too much. And at the moment, I'm drinking not at all really, and it's not a pressure. I don't feel the drive to cloud things out with alcohol because I've got something good going on. I hope I won't destroy that. I don't know how it's going to be. We're just enjoying each other for who we are. That's really the best thing, and it doesn't feel like there's this pressure for me to change or for me to become a different person, or because that's what can really fuck you up as well, is because you try to be good for someone, so you actually start hiding from them what you're really like, which doesn't mean I have to be like totally drunk all the time and that's the only side of me that really exists in order to prove who I am. It's a delicate balance of some kind, sort of. You've got to be able to hold it in balance, and when you're in a good dialogue with someone and a good relationship and you're having a good dance together, then that balance can be held. There can be a possibility for just being gentle, and it doesn't have to kill the creativity. You don't have to constantly be in a drunken rage to be creative. And yeah, I'm in a good place at the moment.
So with the crew, I'm still in touch with Ben because he was present for a lot of. He wasn't present for a lot of what happened, but he understood the situation. And then with John. With John, things are a little bit difficult to talk about. So my first impressions of John were, you know, as an artist and as a man. First of all, false personality, charismatic, everyone liked him. As an artist, he was intense. As a person, he was intense, but as an artist, he was particularly intense. You know, layered and haunted. Yeah.
John was volatile. We had to film takes again and again. He'd have emotional outbursts. He'd be screaming. The sound was unusable. Takes were unusable. It was difficult. It was a difficult time.
Sorry, can we just give me a minute? It was a bit of a shock. Well, no, like I was saying, it's maybe selfish. It's just really important to me. Somehow, kind of, I just thought some things you don't think are not going to be there anymore, you know? Well, I'm just some stupid drunk fuck. It's just brush this off. Fucking hell.
We were doing a film about the recovery from alcoholism, and he was not a recovered alcoholic. You know, he wasn't. And we all knew that he was drinking. We all knew it. And I thought, I'm going to try and help him. And we ended up kind of, you know, getting quite close. I left the shoot because everything was too much.
John was a bit of a con artist, but you couldn't help but feel sorry for him. You could tell he was wrestling with some really deep issues. We were shooting a documentary about an alcoholic, which I don't doubt he was. He was definitely an alcoholic, but he was not 8 months into recovery. I saw him drinking on set, and I'm sure others did as well. He was hiding it, but you could tell, you could smell it, and I saw him have a drink. I knew where he kept it. And when he started a relationship with Izzy, our sound op, it became more corrosive and more destructive. Izzy had issues as well. I love her to bits. I really do. But she had issues with her father relating to alcohol that I think she saw reflections of in John, and she thought she could fix the problems that she'd seen before, close to home. And I think when she realised she couldn't and she backed out, John felt abandoned, and I think he couldn't cope. When she left, he couldn't cope. He was too fragile, vulnerable, and he needed support. He didn't need a film crew watching his every move as he gradually fell apart.
When me and John were getting closer, Jim, there was one night that marks it for me. There was 2 nights that mark it for me, but I'll tell you about the first one. First of all, Jim showed up at my hotel room pissed, screaming through the door, stuff like, I can't believe you're with John, he's an alcoholic, he's this, he's that, he's the other. And he was screaming this through my hotel door, but the rest of the crew heard it. And, you know, only through Ben did I know that the rest of the crew had heard it, because they were talking about it. But when I mentioned it to them, oh, we didn't hear anything. It made me look unprofessional. It made me, you know, it made the rest of the crew question what I was really doing there, what were my motivations for being there and stuff. And it made it look like, I don't know, some sordid kind of thing. It was just scary. This was like 3 a.m. when he was yelling through my hotel door, you know? I'd never had that working with anyone before.
Well, I think you can clearly see the deterioration that the alcohol caused in Jim's work. You just look at the quality, the technical aspects of the last few takes, the few scenes that he shot, the interviews with John. He's clearly drunk. The technique is shoddy. They were drinking. They were drinking on in between takes. In the end, they didn't hide it anymore. I had to back out. I backed out of the project. I could see it deteriorating before my eyes. And it's a sad thing to see a project deteriorate to the level that this one did, and the damage that it caused. Unintentional or not, Jim became the antithesis of what what motivated him to make this documentary. In the end, he was drinking with John between takes, wandered onto the set with a bottle of beer in his hand. He'd let himself go to a degree where his work suffered, the project suffered. I had to back out. I did not want to be involved in a project that was deteriorating at this rate. I knew it was a disaster. Izzy too. It was a sad situation that fueled, a self-fueling situation. And alcohol took away his capacity as a filmmaker, and it's evident in his work.
I don't think I want to make film anymore. I don't trust being behind the camera. I don't trust people behind the camera, you know. I mean it. I don't. It's like, it's not a...
Shit, I thought we had a good thing going here.
Yeah, but what is it? Documentary. You know, you're looking at somebody falling apart, or because you're looking at them, they're falling apart more than they were before.
Are you falling apart?
Well, I'm not. No, I'm not. But
you have to, man. That's the first thing. You have to look after yourself.
But in some sense, looking after your art is more important than looking after yourself. And in order to look after your art, sometimes you have to sacrifice, destroy yourself. Not sacrifice. Sacrifice is something that happens to you. It's not something you can do. But
where are you, man? Are you feeling alright?
Yeah. No, I'm feeling.
I'm
just a bit fucked up about Izzy thing, you know. I mean, it's just like, I thought even though she said, I'm not going to see you again, I thought, well, she's still doing the fucking job. I thought she was committed to that. I thought she was, I thought she's more like actually committed to the work. But it became about me. It was probably my fault. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have come onto her. Or, I mean, she came onto me too, so we were there, weren't we? But, and, you know, nobody was... It was sweet anyway. It was sweet for a while. I don't expect much. I don't really expect anyone to spend time with me. I don't want anyone to care for me. I'm not easy to care for anyway, because I wouldn't allow anyone to care for me.
Well, you can't, man. You've got to look after yourself.
Yeah, well...
Okay, so my father was an alcoholic, and he died when I was 16 of alcoholism. He stopped eating. And I thought that I'd be able to help John, because I saw the same pattern around that final spiral, you know. And I didn't do enough, because I recommended to him things that didn't work for my father, which was the AA and therapy and rehab. But none of it worked for, you know, my dad, so I don't know why I thought it would work for John. But yeah, that's why I thought I could help him, because I had experience. Because John had said my name on camera, there became a level of scrutiny about me and my role in the whole thing. And people do have their opinions, and people will talk. And then the other way it changed me, and it took me a couple of months, actually, even though I left the shoot early, it took me a couple of months to kind of get out of that toxic environment that alcoholism puts you in. Even if you're not, drinking or an alcoholic, being around them is draining, and it does drag you into it, and it's a corrosive thing, So it took me a couple of months to kind of get out of that mindset and start being back to normal, back to being normal and everything. They say don't blame yourself for things. You can't blame yourself for somebody else's actions, as if other people's actions don't have impact. It was a two-way thing. He wasn't ready to recover, and I gave him information that I thought was useful, but was useless. And I knew it was useless when I was giving it, but I couldn't think of anything else. What do you say to somebody that doesn't want to stop doing what they're doing, that's killing themselves, I could have done more, yeah.
In hindsight, yes, and I've thought about it a lot. Yes, I would do things differently, and it was a learning experience on multiple levels. I've got personal regrets about the way I handled situations. I could have said something earlier than I did. I could have dealt with situations in a different way. And maybe I shouldn't have backed out as I did when I did. But at the time, it seemed like the only option. But I'm left with regrets, without a doubt. I'll feel those regrets for a long time.
She watches over me, governing from above, high in the gallery. I stand behind my cigarette and I watch. I see people come in and out of stairways, up and down elevators. And I wonder if they're as alone as me. I hardly understand anything lately. All I understand is that there is no point in me going anywhere anymore if it's to be alone.
This is not the way I want things to be. I will watch over, cover, and protect you. But only in the shadows. You must believe in me. But I cannot descend to your level. Even if I wanted to.
Personal relationship with John. What started out as friendship, and then we were sleeping together. Yeah. So I guess you could say it was a romantic relationship. He was an artist. So, you know, they're romantic people. I'm not, but he was. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I had a relationship with him, as I have a relationship with every crew member, you know? It was just a bit more personal than that.
I don't think it would be true to say I haven't hurt anyone. I don't think I've ever hurt anyone physically, but I think if you're ruining yourself in a particular way, you start to ruin people around you, and it hurts. Yeah, without a doubt. It's impossible to drink at the levels that I have without causing damage to other people. You're damaging yourself. You're damaging your work. You're damaging everything that all the relationships that you've got with everyone ultimately. So, while I don't think there's any particular person or particular thing that I've, you know, totally screwed up, I think it's, yeah, hurt is everywhere if you're drinking at that level. Yeah.
I'm just sick of this being. It doesn't look like what I want to do anymore. It's not what I'm. Sit down, paint. Sit down, write the same things, write them again. I mean. Since then, I've written another. I wrote one poem this morning, but
give us a blast. Give it to us.
Well, all right, yeah, but
give us the poem.
You still fucking tell me. I forgot.
I don't know. I can cut this out, man. It'll be fine.
Well, you probably wouldn't want to show yourself in front of the camera like this, would you?
I care about you, man. I want you to be fucking okay. I do.
I'll be alright. I know what I'm doing. It's not as if I don't know what I'm doing to myself and to other people.
Back on the fucking reels, man. You shouldn't have destroyed that shit. The stuff you.
No, I should. It's fucking shit. It's gone beyond. It's not relevant to me. It's not interesting to me anymore. It's not what I'm doing anymore. It's not me, and I don't mind if it's not even called after me. I want to make something else. I want to make something, and I want you to go I want you to be walking around in like a year and just randomly walk into some gallery or wherever you go, and look at something and say, "Oh, that's fucking good work. That's interesting work," and then you wouldn't even realise until you left that it was me, because you wouldn't recognise me, and I think that's fundamentally important.
When I found out John had took his own life, I wasn't really surprised. I'd seen him in the interviews, kind of winding down, spiraling down. I did nothing to stop it. All I did was sit there and let the cameras roll. That's what I was there to do. I was there to document this time, this man, this place. But that didn't make us feel any better about it. There's a harsh truth I've got to face. I saw him decay, and I didn't do anything to stop it. What else could I do? I've asked myself a question so many times. Should I have intervened? Should I have done something to stop him? Should I have said something to him? I can't help but think that I had something to do with his death. But now I've got to live with that.
Death, really, just, I mean, in a sense, it's just think it's really important in this country particularly. A lot of people are they don't really talk about death. It's not like, you know, South American countries, places like that, people are really expansive and they sort of face it, and it's at the center of their lives the whole of the time in a way, and it's kind of, whereas in this country there's a lot of repression and people don't really deal with it and then kind of act surprised when it happens to them or happens to someone they know, in a way.
You have, I mean, I said it before, it's not sacrifice, it's another word for it, because you can't sacrifice yourself, but you have to be, maybe you should make something that will sacrifice you. Maybe you should make art that sacrifices you for it, rather than thinking you're going to just pull it in, you know, into some sort of autobiographical bullshit. Anyway, I don't know. But you want to hear this poem, anyway?
Yeah, man, fucking give it a blast. I'd love to hear it. I would love to hear it. I really would.
Let's see if I got it.
It's new, right? It's a new thing you wrote.
Yeah, it's this morning, yeah.
This morning?
Yeah.
Great.
No, this is yeah.
I don't know if I should step up. Should I step out of the frame, do you think?
You're the director, still.
Well, I want to hear it, man. I'd like to hear it.
You ready?
Yeah, man, go for it. We're rolling.
At a night waiting, parasitic upon a lie of time for this address, given, cooked, spotted, clocked and broken and undone, open and overreached, and science fist in hand crushed again via brand language. All the bodily fluids conscripted into phraseologies of diagnosis, arrest, apprehension, and disgust respite, stricken with chance delights or cowardice confined to homogeneous courage taken at a night waiting. Shriven dreams, excited by rampant marginalization, sensations, benumbed into being given in delay bargains, wrapped in tacit hatred of every light reflected. Refracted through this, a waiting is going on. This being for an arrival this morning.